Well, Sarah Corker is at the Nissan plant for us this lunchtime. Sarah.
Yes, this is a really significant day for the UK car sector. These are massive expansion plans, and Sunderland is set to be at the centre of this electric car revolution. Good morning from one of the world's largest defence firms. Now, this is where they assemble parts of the RAF Hawk jet, used, of course, by the world-famous Red Arrows display team. Now, across the UK business, they've got 2,500 apprentices and graduates, some of them busy working away this morning.
But first, let's talk to our Consumer Affairs correspondent, Sarah Corker, who's at a shopping centre in Manchester. Sarah, just clarify for us exactly what shops we can now go to and which we can't.
Well, these stricter rules will force people to social distance. And the message from the government is shopping centres like this one here in Manchester and across the UK are now off limits. All non-essential retailers must shut. So that includes many high street chains, clothing stores, health and beauty salons, hotels, essentially anywhere that doesn't sell food or vital supplies. Now, to ease the financial strain on businesses, the government has already said it will pay 80% of wages for those who are affected by these closures. Often people own a minority share, but as we've heard there, they're liable for the full costs of maintenance. And when it comes to cladding, that can be the cost of, taking down an external wall, for example. I mean, huge bills. Emma there said it could cost her up to £30,000. But this is a legally binding contract. It's the terms of the lease that you're responsible for these costs. But when people signed up for the scheme, never in a million years would they have thought that they would face maintenance bills of this size. And I think that's what's at the heart of this crisis, is the financial unfairness of it all on people who can least afford it.
But as Sarah Corker reports, in the few buildings where remedial work has begun, there are fresh problems.
Imagine having to live inside this, your home wrapped in plastic sheeting for months on end, windows that barely open, no way to see out.
Yeah, Sarah, middle of the day, no natural light.
Jim lives on the first floor at Islington Gates here in Birmingham city centre.
And this is the limited air we can get into the flat.
This is the view for the next year that you've got.
Yeah, 12 months of being depressed.
There is relief that the combustible cladding is being removed, but government funding won't cover the full cost of almost £9 million. It means leaseholders need to find more than £1 million between them. That's at least £20,000 each. What's it like living in this box?
You haven't got a clue what's happening outside. It affects you mentally, it makes you depressed, it makes you very stressed. The stress is worse knowing you've got to pay for it, and you've got to pay for the privilege of living in a dark, dull box. In my case, £20,000, and I grind my teeth.
You feel like you're suffocating.
Just next door, Liz and Rodriguez are renting this one-bed flat. They not only have to cope with the building work, but there's a serious damp and mould problem too.
It's horrible. I really hate living here now, to be honest with you, and I feel embarrassed. I don't want to bring my friends here. I don't want to bring my family here, because I've got a 6-year-old niece who we absolutely adore, and I don't want her here because I don't want her to be breathing in the sort of same stuff that's making me feel so poorly.
And those affected are being traced, but some women fear they'll never receive the full amount they're owed. Here's our business correspondent, Sarah Corker.
For the 11 years before she went into care, she could have done quite a few other things. I think it's really poor. I think you shouldn't have to fight for what's rightfully yours.
For 2 decades, Rosemary Chattel was underpaid her state pension. It was her son John who first realised something was wrong. On the 4th time of asking, the Department for Work and Pensions agreed to investigate, and the scale of the error came as a shock.
Came back to me about another day later and said it was £107,852, which is an amazing amount. And that's because she was never given a proportion of the old man's pension when he died 20 years ago.
What was your reaction when you heard just how much your mum had been underpaid for 20 years?
It's just astonishing, isn't it? I mean, my first thought was for her, the other things perhaps she could have done anyway in her life. She had the extra money in her pension to live off, but also other people out there who must be also in the same position who may not know they're owed all this money.
And there are many others affected by this.
Women phoned the Department for Work and Pensions suspecting their payments were too low. Some were receiving just £1 a week, but they were repeatedly told the amounts they were getting were correct, but they weren't. And for decades, an estimated 200,000 women were underpaid their state pensions. If you want to, you could go a whole week without having to mingle with people. And I think that's one of the reasons perhaps why self-catered accommodation has been able to open a lot earlier. Hotels, of course, having to wait until the 17th of May. And if we just have a little look down here, you can see how busy it is already. These are the touring caravans. I'm trying not to wake people up, actually. I don't think I'm going to be very popular here this morning. Yes, it's about innovating, and we've talked a lot about hybrid working and the fact that people are mixing it up. They're working from home, but they're also coming into the office. Have you seen trading patterns actually change since places started to reopen? And Naga and Charlie, what I think we'll probably see in the run-up to the Christmas period is fewer discounts and special offers, because businesses are trying to claw back those increasing costs. And lots of people have said to me, what's going on at the moment is this perfect storm of factors all colliding at the same time, these global forces really bearing down on the supply chain.